Folks, welcome back to the show. It has been hot. It has been heavy. I got two heavyweights with me on the set right now. My man Will Lyles, Richard Walker. I got an offensive line up here, man. I ran that football. I would just get lost behind these cats and just take it through the A-gap before you know it, I'm headed to the house. Look, folks, we want you to always follow this show on Facebook at Craig Shelton. That's Craig HMW Shelton. Search me out on Facebook. And on Twitter, that's Craig Shelton HMW. It's important that you follow the show because you are part of the show. Social media is a part, you're a huge part of the show. It's where we get the energy from that keeps the vibe going. Richard and I, we always out there trying to make it happen along with the other HMW guys, Angelo and Lamont. So follow this show, follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Guys, let's go here with it today. 8 head coaching vacancies and 7 general manager jobs have been filled in the NFL since the end of the off-season. Not one minority got a job. Not one. Not a single one got a job. Obviously, this has caused a little bit of a stir among folks. It started to get some legs really today nationally. You know, here's when issues of race are starting to get legs is when people start giving statements that don't have no reason to give a statement. You know, like, you have nothing to do with this, but it's like I just feel obligated to give a statement because I ain't hired no black folks this week either. But we did get a response around 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon from the NFL office. They responded with a statement from Robert Gulliver, the league executive vice president of human resources. I want to share his comments with you. While there has been full compliance with the interview requirements of the Rooney Rule, and we wish the new head coaches and general managers much success, the hiring results this year have been unexpected and reflect a disappointing lack of diversity. That's the first half of what Gulliver said in his statement. Let me start with you, Will Lyles, on this one. I guess just give me your brief synopsis, just in general terms, how you feel about what has occurred and your opinion on whether or not the Rooney Rule needs to be tweaked.
Well, I feel that the Rooney Rule, saying that I'm interviewing black coaches or black front office people, that's good and dandy, but if you're not hiring them, what's the point? There's no point in it. So, I mean, it really went back to a good old boy system. It truly has. Let
me ask you this real quick question. If every time there's a hiring session that goes on in the NFL and a minority is not hired in that particular session of hiring, does it mean the entire Rooney Rule concept has not worked? Because we do have examples where it has worked. And just so you people understand, NFL teams have to interview minority candidates per the Rooney Rule, which was designed to make sure that the NFL will give an equal opportunity to minority candidates. But there's a misconception about how this works. Teams can't just go out and hire any upstart black coach. You can't just go hire Kevin Sumlin just because you think he did a good job. Now, obviously, he would be a guy that's eligible, but there's actually a list of names that the NFL provides to teams. And on that list, those players, those coaches are all annotated who are eligible for consideration in the NFL to be hired. So you need to understand that concept before we move on. Well, let me read a little bit more of the statement from Robert Gulliver, the director of HR at NFL Executive Office. The Rooney Rule has been a valuable tool in expanding diversity, Richard Walker, and inclusion in hiring practices. But there is more work to be done, especially around increasing and strengthening the pipeline of diverse candidates and head coaches and senior football executive positions. A couple of things here, Richard. Folks, think much higher than head coaches, because if you have more general managers that are of color, you're going to have more head coaches of color. Another thing, Richard, I want you to touch on this. Explain to folks the significance in understanding this situation that just occurred. These were all offensive coordinators for the most part. Only one defensive-minded coach was hired out of these group of coaches. No, folks, there are no black offensive coordinators. We only got one or two to speak of. Richard?
Well, I think you touched on a very important point, is that there's sort of a caste system, so to speak, where as African Americans, we're obviously welcome to be players. We're welcome to be position coaches, but that's about the ceiling. We don't, as a group, we haven't advanced beyond that. And I think that's one of the things that really needs to be addressed through the Rooney Rule. Unfortunately, it has to happen because we still haven't reached the point where the good old boy system is broken up, and there's true opportunity where these talented individuals who come out and they show they earn the right. We're not talking about, you're entitled to it because of the color of your skin. We're talking about talented coaches who earn the right to be moved into higher positions, move from quarterback, offensive line, defensive line coach to a coordinator position, and then eventually progress on into a head coach position. The problem is we're not getting that progression. And yeah, you got a few head coaches here and there, and then the other thing that happens is those coaches are under much more scrutiny than their white counterparts. I'm just calling it like it is.
Wait a minute, are you really?
Oh yeah,
you
I
really
am.
believe that black coaches are under more scrutiny? Well, what scrutiny has Mike Tomlin been in Pittsburgh that Andy Reid hasn't been in or wasn't in when he was in Philadelphia?
The difference between Mike Tomlin and Andy Reid is that Mike Tomlin actually delivered. Andy Reid never delivered. Mike Tomlin has hardware to back up his performance. Not to mention that this is the first time in, I don't remember, if I recall right, I don't think he's had a losing season under his administration.
I just don't think we have enough. It's not that I don't know if I'm disagreeing with your point in totality. I think my point probably goes more to our core of our argument or discussion is I don't know that we have enough of a sample size.
Right, and
there's only
the
been 17 black NFL coaches in the history
of the game. Right,
and
but 90% of the players.
4 to 6 of those were interim. They weren't folks that were recruited and hired. I don't know that dynamic is there for that reason, and I just don't know that African American. I guess I haven't had enough examples to dig into that. Was Art Shell, when he was head coach of the Raiders, was he villainized for anything other than the fact that he was the head coach of the Raiders, and anybody that's a Raider is going to be villainized? There's no in between with the Raiders. You either love them or you hate them. I just don't know. If Gary Kubiak in Houston had black skin, would there be any more people saying that Gary Kubiak is too conservative? I don't think so. I just don't think so. But like I say, we might not have enough of a sample size out there.
One of the things I look at is I see the rehiring of Andy Reid and the non-rehiring of
black coaches do not get second chance.
They don't get second chance.
Now that argument
That's the difference.
It's not even an argument.
Right.
That is the difference. And
why is Lovie Smith not coaching one of these?
He should have been in office the next day.
Exactly. And Andy Reid, people like Andy Reid, Ken Wisenhunt, they were sought out. Lovie Smith wasn't. And that's the part that disappoints me more than anything.
Great comments from Richard Walker and Will Lyles. I appreciate you guys' candidness on this sensitive subject, but that's what we do on the Cut. We cut them up and we get sensitive with you. We're not R&B singers, but we do have one in the studio tonight behind the camera. We're going to go to social media right now, and well, actually, we won't be going to social media on this particular segment. We're going to go ahead and go to a break, and when we get back, we'll have the last segment of this week's episode of The Cut. Cut.